Saturday, September 24th. This is tomorrow, 8 p.m. at Eckhart Grammaté Hall. You can see Peter Vinograde opening up the 16-17 season of the Virtuosi concert series. He'll be performing a program of Bach, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, and Albéniz, a wonderful variety. Can't wait, including a work that he played the first time he was here in Winnipeg in 1989. Welcome to the Diamond Lane, Mr. Vinograde.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. So, tell us about your first time in Winnipeg. What brought you here the first time in '89?
Well, it's sort of a strange story. I was in the Toronto Bach competition in 1985. Didn't get through the first round, but the radio show, the CBC radio show, from that day, from the first round, on their nightly show, picked me as one of the people who was going to be in the finals.
Oh, great.
And they played my round and everything. So I got a hold of that recording, and I sent that around to some places in Canada.
Cool.
And one of the people who picked it up was Harry. And Harry was very enterprising. He actually listens to things, or at least he did in those days. I think he still does. He listens to things that are sent him, and he liked what he heard, and that's how I made the connections.
And this is Harry Straub, the artistic director of Virtuosi Concert
Harry,
Series.
right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aren't we lucky? So, how did you enjoy it the first time you were here? Because you're based out of New York, right?
I live in New York. Yeah, I had a great time. I played. This is before Eckhart Grammaté Hall existed, but although I did play in the same space, it was a noontime series on a piano that was playable. Yeah. And, Harry was great. He arranged, I think I played in a couple other small places around town, and we got to know each other very well. And, no, it was a great experience. And, I mean, through the years, he's done many things for me. I've been up here many times. One of the most important things was he introduced me to Michael Matthews, who's a composer who lived here, and I had not known him. And Harry didn't know the music much, but he had a score. He said he thought it sort of looked interesting, so I looked at it and made that connection. So that's another thing. And we eventually made a recording of his works in Eckhart Grammaté Hall.
Excellent. All the lineage. I mean, I am a huge fan of Michael Matthews. Yeah. I have also performed quite a bit of his music. And recently, didn't you play something of his? Yes,
I've been doing this. No, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a piece for piano and electronic sound.
It is the one with the Spanish title.
Yeah, what's it called?
I feel like I know. Oh, De Reflejo a Fulgor.
Right.
Yes,
I've done this a few times.
Okay.
And Michael now lives in Berlin and Montreal. So I visited him in Berlin, actually. So.
Excellent. And you performed it in Washington at the National Gallery in D.C.
No, I didn't perform that. I have performed at the National Gallery, but not that, no.
Oh, that was the All Bach recital.
That's Bach.
Okay, so that's fantastic. Let's talk about this really quickly, and then we'll go to a quick break for some music, and then we'll talk about the program.
Okay.
So the juxtaposition of old music and new music in your world. I mean, yes, you're playing, the post-romantic greatness of Rachmaninoff as well on your program, but you're also playing a Bach partita, and then you play things like Michael Matthews.
Right.
So what do you feel is important about both of these things, and perhaps in the same way or perhaps in different ways?
I don't know if it's what's so important, but I know as far as contemporary music goes, I love being able to play music by people who are alive, so that I can have a back and forth with them about the work. I mean, that's something you cannot do with Bach.
Yes.
Although
you kind of can.
Just getting off the subject. So
sure.
I about 10 years ago at Manhattan School, I created this class called Bach for Pianists.
Okay.
And it's a class that meets twice a week. And the second, the second class each week is a practicum class. And basically, we're picking apart the music in so many different ways. So you feel like you're getting to know him a little bit in that way. Right?
Well, I mean, you do. That is how you get to know a composer. I mean, you can psychoanalyze them through what's on the page, which is so fascinating. But I mean, what is it that brings you back to Bach? Well, I mean, you are a professor at the Manhattan School. You've been there for quite some time. You're an alumnus of that school as well. Yeah. So you have a really deep relationship with it and with educating. What perhaps as a pedagogue, what do you feel is most valuable about Bach?
Well, it just relates to everything. So everything we're doing in the class, you talk about a lot of the basic stuff, it relates to everything. I mean, Rubinstein always said you had to be able to play Bach before you could play Chopin, which is true, I think. And also, to me, the Baroque period is much more emotional than the classic period. I mean, Beethoven was sort of in between the two, but the emotions of the Romantic and Baroque are very close. So to me, and that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're doing this stuff. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, well, I think in a lot of ways, yeah, absolutely it does. I mean, the contrapuntal genius, the emotive, the places that he went, not just in his oratorios, but in his piano music, even in his solo partitas. You're going to be playing partita number 4 tomorrow night. Why don't we take a quick break for a little bit of music, and then we will come back with pianist Peter Vinograde here to open up the 16-17 season of Virtuosi concert series. And we are back here in the Diamond Lane on Classic 107 in Winnipeg with me, your host, Sarah Jo, and pianist Peter Vinograde here to open the 2016-17 season of the Virtuosi concert series. Welcome back to Winnipeg.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. And so this is, of course, not your first time in Winnipeg, but you are revisiting a piece that you played the first time you were here in 1989, Der Sturm.
Right.
Yes,
right.
This is the Beethoven. Tell us about why you chose to bring it back.
Well, one of the reasons I chose to bring it back was because Harry has always told me that the way I played it was his favorite way of hearing the piece.
Oh.
But I mean, also, because I've been playing the Bach partita a lot, this piece could not be more different from that. So in a way, the two things on the first half are like complete contrast in almost every way. So that's one of the reasons. And
what are the big contrasts between this
well,
Bach
the partita? The partita is a piece that I first played in 1970, 71, and that was when I won this competition when I was a kid. And I played it for maybe about 2 years a lot. And I decided, at that point I was sort of fed up with it. And but I've come back to it ever since I've been doing the class and so forth. I decided to play it again. And it's just totally exuberant, happy, just absolutely full of just, I don't know, it's just very giddy almost piece, kind of a piece. And the Tempest, on the other hand, and also the partita doesn't really have that improvisatory feeling like some of Bach's music does. This doesn't. It's very concrete. The Tempest is filled with improvisation. It's in a dark key. It's just very disturbed. And even the middle movement, which is in a major key, is not exactly happy. So that was sort of the idea of the two things. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And you are also playing a work by one of my personal heroes, Sergei Rachmaninoff, as well as Isaac Albéniz. And now, why did you pair these two? These are both in the second half?
Well, part of it is one of my favorite periods of music is the early 20th century.
Me
and
too.
That includes Albéniz, Rachmaninoff, Scriabin, some Schoenberg. There's just a certain sound that comes in there. And the preludes that I'm playing by Rachmaninoff and the Albéniz are almost written within 5 years of each other. So it's really, you can see there's a lot of similarities sort of in some of the styles, although the Albéniz is really more closely related to Ravel or Debussy than Rachmaninoff. But you can see a lot of the same things. So that was one of the reasons. And I just happen to really love the Albéniz. I played it, this group, I played a lot, maybe about 25, 30 years ago. At this point, I would not have tried learning it anew, but because it's an old piece. And I just love the music. I mean, it's very exuberant, sort of like the Bach is. So it sort of starts, especially the last one, sort of starts the program the way it ends. So.
Right. Well, and it's the energy of the Beria books in general. I mean, it's the liveliness of the cultural makeup that those places are just so vibrant, and the music is so brilliantly matched. Right. Well, we're so excited to have this program. Peter, you've traveled all over. I mean, you've been to Winnipeg a few times, but I mean, you've been all over North America, and you've been beyond. Is there a place for you that you had one of those moments that you would go back to over and over and over again, anywhere in the world?
That's a strange question. I haven't thought of that. I'm thinking. I don't know. There have been a few experiences I've had in Asia that have been quite remarkable, but mostly, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I can't really put myself into one particular thing. I had a very strange experience in Italy last summer, where the concert was moved from one place to another. But I think actually when Harry sent out his little blurb on the concert, he put the picture of, because when I was warming up for the concert, the only person or creature there was a cat named Romeo sitting there watching me. So that was a nice experience. I don't know. No, it's hard to say.
That's cool. But I mean, we're glad you're back in Winnipeg.
Oh, thanks.
We're glad you've made it back. This is New York-based Peter Vinograde, pianist, pedagogue, and a performer here in Winnipeg tomorrow night at Eckhart Grammaté Hall, 8 p.m. as part of Virtuosi's concert series, their season opener. This is number 26. Harry is very smart to have brought you back. We're really excited to hear you again, and I hope you enjoy your experience.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Okay, thanks. We're going to play a little bit more music, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Okay.